and a friend, and I absolutely adore him. And so he's the guy who wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. So, I mean, frankly, you have a chicken soup chock full of like 20 volumes of stories.
And so Raising a Doodle, Heartwarming Stories of Dog Parents Around the World is the first book, and it really is the heartwarming stories and the anecdotes and the silly moments and then the subject matter expertise to help guide you through to become one of these people who are sharing. We had over 100 submissions, stories, etc., from people around the world who have a doodle who wanted to be part of it. It was such an amazing project. And not just that, but every day, with the community, we have had over 1,000 stories submitted to date. I want as many stories from anyone around the world as possible to help us. We're proving that dogs are helpful, not just in our own families, that they're family members, but to society. And so it's helping fuel the advocacy that dogs should be able to have more rights outside in our communities and us rights with them. We should be able to travel with them on a plane. We should be able to go to a restaurant and not leave them behind because you are their world. So we want to make that world better, and so far to date, it's been an effort of crowdsourcing these wonderful stories, and we'd love for everyone to be part of it as well.
I totally agree. I would love to be able to take our dogs into more places with us. The problem goes back to those who have not socialized their dogs, who have not trained their dogs, who have not made their dogs socially acceptable is the only way I know how to put it. And the problem is, some people really do not understand. And so there's a huge education process that goes on. As a veterinarian, I see it in my office all the time. People come in and they say, oh, my dog is friendly, he's wonderful, he's good with children, and meanwhile the dog is trying to attack me, my staff, other dogs in the waiting room, and I'm kind of going, I don't see it. And literally this happens on a daily basis. I have a client who has a shepherd that is his, quote, therapy dog. It is his service dog, not a therapy dog. This dog is afraid of life. She trembles and cowers and hides behind the owner, and I'm thinking, how is this a service dog? Every time this dog goes out in public, this dog is afraid of everything. The dog is using the owner as the service person, but to me, this is not a dog that should be wearing a service dog harness and going out in the public, because no one feels comfortable around this dog. And the dog doesn't feel comfortable around anyone else. So there's a huge education factor.
Absolutely. The subject matter expert for dog training in the book, at Attention Dog Training, out of the Philadelphia area. He's a veteran, and we love how they're advocating for force-free methods of dog training. And his main preface, and what I have loved and appreciated their expertise when working on this project, is that there's no such thing as a bad dog, just a dog that may need more training. So that's the preface that we're starting off at. And when I think of in the human world, in order to drive a vehicle, you have to pass whatever the state's DMV license is.
Right.
There are dogs that are very well behaved, socialized, who are stuck behind these small, cooped up inside in apartments because people in cities are crammed in space. A lot of them are well socialized. They are different than, to be able to go from place to place. And how we create that new world where we recognize some dogs may need more training, but why ruin it for all the other dogs that are bored alone in a small little crammed apartment, and being able to get them to be able to get the socialization outside? Because in the city life, the outdoors is the home of people. A small studio is not healthy for the dog either. So they need to be out and about. And, with their owners where they go because they don't have a backyard.
Right.
The backyard is the coffee shop.
Yeah, pretty much.
I had a friend who just moved to, she's a German Shepherd, and she moved to a location with a backyard after living in D.C. for a long time. And it was interesting. One of the first comments, like, the dog is so happy to have a backyard because, a lot of people think that that's the home. But, I have now lived in New York City and San Francisco. It's a very different lifestyle being in the city. And when you have a pup that needs to be out and about, why can't you just, when you're walking to do an errand, why can't your pup come with you? And that's where we're really advocating for that experience, but also when it comes to travel as well.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think it becomes difficult, and there's, I saw a post a couple of weeks ago where this guy has a, quote, therapy alligator, and he actually takes the alligator to nursing homes for visits, and I'm thinking, no one in their right mind can possibly think, well, except this guy apparently, can possibly think that an alligator is, he wants to be able to take it on airplanes. I'm sorry, I'm not getting on that plane. I don't know how you train an alligator.
Really funny, I don't know if you call it a commercial, but Chris Pratt after the new Jurassic Park movie came out, they did this, you should YouTube it, this little segment to show that he was trying to prove at the airline that his pet raptor was his therapy.
Yes, it's a therapy raptor.
I'm hoping, when I saw that, as somebody who's advocating that people have the rights to have a therapy animal with them, I'm also asking that people be respectful to other people in situations. So if anyone wants to laugh, go look up Chris Pratt, the therapy animal. I'm sure you'll find this moment. That's not helpful for people on a plane to be sitting next to a velociraptor.
No, I don't think so. Or an alligator. I mean, somebody else had a peacock. Well, we used to have peacocks that would show up on our horse farm, and let me tell you, when they scream, it is the most unnerving, loud screech. Peacocks make a horrible noise, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't imagine being on a plane with a peacock screeching.
So where my entrepreneur hat comes on is that it's clear when all of this, if the only way you can travel and not put your dog in cargo is that route, I'm trying really hard to empathize in everyone's different situation. I heard somebody who got a job in Australia, an amazing job, turned down because of the quarantine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are just really hard as a dog parent to navigate that. Not just dog parents of other animals. Some people are focusing on the dog, but if there were easier ways to be able to travel and to ensure safety of our animals when they are transported from one location to the next, and know that they're going to be happy and healthy throughout that whole process. It's clearly that people are frustrated with what the user experience is now, and that there needs to be better resolutions for the future. But for those who do have emotional support and therapy animals and service dogs, we want to support that and appreciate that and encourage them to not be afraid to tell other people that dog helps them. But for those who are going to sit on a plane with other people, make sure that dog is really well prepared to have that experience, and that's part of the book as well.
Awesome. That is great information, and I think people need that information. And I think it's great that there is a community where they can have a conversation with other people and say, okay, I need to travel with my dog. How have you done this? How have you gotten through that? I think that's great. You took your dog to Costa Rica. We had, thought at one time about retiring outside of the country, and we're like, well, okay, we've got all these animals. How are we transporting all these animals? And if we want to come back in country, what hoops do we have to jump through every time we want to travel back and forth? And frankly, it's going to keep us bound stateside, because I don't think we're ever going to have just one small animal, which we jokingly talk about occasionally, but instead there's 15. So it's not quite feasible. Yeah, me and the farm. So yeah, not really feasible to get all these animals back and forth with us. So I think we're stateside bound, but I got to find somewhere warm, which is why I like Southern California.
Well, we're hoping, and that's where, this balance comes in. Like, what's the best situation now? Is it more road trips like you were talking about, what you guys do? Or is it, or is there a way, we've shared the experience of a woman in San Francisco who's from Sweden who went back and forth all the time with her cockapoo. And in time realized that a European pet passport was probably the best option. So, like, hearing the experience of the others who've gone through it doesn't mean that it's with the current rules and regulations that you're not going to be stopped at the border with your pup. But there is somebody who's gone through that, and this is what happened to them. So that's where we're trying to find what's available now and how to fix as much as we can today, but by advocacy and constant community sharing and crowdsourcing and letting each other know where we're treated well as customers. Over time, more and more businesses are going to become more dog friendly, and hopefully government policies will ease their restrictions. So that's where the Puppy Mama communities we're all about. We want to have as many people join in the effort, and I'm very excited to work with you, Dr. Judy Morgan, regarding the health aspect when it comes to ensuring our pups are healthy as we care for them. So to be the best dog parent ever.
Absolutely. Theresa, we are out of time. Thank you so much for being a guest today. For those who've been listening, Puppy Mama Community on Facebook, puppy.mama on Instagram, puppymama.com. Check it out. I think you'll be thrilled with what you find. Until next week, give your pets a hug.
That's all for today. Find more answers to your questions next time on Dr. Judy Morgan's Naturally Healthy Pets every Monday and Tuesday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time by going to DreamVision7Radio.com. Join holistic veterinarian Dr. Judy to discover healthy options for raising your pets in a more holistic manner. Visit drjudymorgan.com to learn more.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.